What's up, Royal Spartan Tribe? This is Royal Spartan 125, back for another quick reaction. This is Absolute Mad Lads, Albert Dryden. Dryden? Oh, one of the two. This is another request. If you like my reactions, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and if you want to request a video, go ahead and do so, and I will record it next time I'm recording. And even if you can't find a video, just say you can't find a video you want me to do. Would you like a particular channel? Give me the name of the channel. I will go there, I will choose a video for myself, and I will react to it. Yeah, don't forget to share this on social media because it does help me. Okay, let's jump in. Oh, and this video contains graphic images some viewers may find distressing, so watch at your own risk, pretty much.
None of us like the government poking its nose in our affairs. A lot of us would just like the government to go the f*** away and mind its own business. Some people fight against this through activism. Some people fight against this through legal means. Some people, however, like to opt for more traditional methods. As we've seen in videos that I've done in the past, if a man tells you, "Get off my property," you should listen. Because we are all very well versed in what happens when you push a man too far.
Fix my light a little bit.
There are consequences. Sometimes deadly consequences.
Ooh.
Albert Dryden.
Dryden. That's what it is. Say Dryden. And this is by Count Dankula, by the way. Forgot to say that as well.
Albert Dryden was born on the 12th of May 1940 in Consett, County Durham, England, and he was the fifth of 8 children. His parents were Albert and Nora Dryden, members of the Salvation Army who were widely recognised as pillars of the community and very well respected. As a child, Albert was very reclusive and solitary and didn't much care for the company of others, and he hated school. IQ tests that he took later in
Kind of sounds like me, to be honest.
life revealed that he had below average intelligence. At an early age, Dryden took an interest in something that would end up becoming an obsession. Firearms. And Albert Dryden bought his first ever firearm when he was just 11 years old.
What?
It was an unlicensed World War I Webley Mark VI revolver that Dryden purchased from a school friend who had stolen it from his father, and Dryden purchased the gun for just 10 shillings, which is 50 pence. Dryden's obsession with firearms continued throughout his entire life, and he actually found himself in court twice in the 60s. The first time was because he was threatening local farmers, and the second time he was in court because he got caught firing homemade mortars and rockets. The reason that he got caught firing the rockets was not because someone snitched on him, it was because the rockets he was building and firing were so big that they were showing up on the Royal Air Force's radar. The RAF investigated to see what these were, and they were treating it very seriously because they thought that it could possibly have been spy planes. But when they investigated, they didn't find spy planes. They found Albert Dryden firing giant rockets that he built in his shed.
We used to fill on with rockets. He used to be called the rocket king then. And we used to build rockets and send them up into the sky. But he got stuff for that because the RAF were finding on their radar and they were trying to figure out what was the UFOs.
Dryden spent almost all of his life working as a steel worker, just like his father, and he used pretty much all of his wages from this to continue to fund his obsession with firearms. Despite increasing his collection of firearms, the weapon that he treasured the most was his Webley, because it was the first ever gun that he bought. The only problem was procuring ammunition for such a weapon was extremely difficult. So Albert Dryden just made his own. He created cartridges converted from 410 shotgun shells, which he loaded with very heavy cast lead bullets, and he named these bullets Man-Stoppers. Many years passed with nothing notable happening, and Dryden was still working away as a steel worker, collecting firearms, manufacturing his own ammunition, and in some cases even making his own homemade firearms. Then in 1982, Dryden was made redundant by the steel company that he worked for. So he decided to rent some land at Eliza Lane in Buttsfield, and he planned to convert the land into a place that he could live and sustain himself. Dryden wasn't the biggest fan of people, and he liked his solitude. So in 1984, when he received his redundancy payout, he used the money to outright buy the land, so he was the full owner, and he had lots of plans for the land. He was going to create a vegetable garden so that he could grow all of his own food. He was going to build a bungalow for himself to live in. He was going to build a workshop so that he could continue with his hobbies, and he was also going to build a nuclear fallout shelter. Albert began by digging a great big hole, and then started building his bungalow in the hole, brick by brick, all by himself. Unfortunately, Britain has something called planning permission, so for anyone that doesn't know what that is, I'll explain. Planning permission is where even if you fully own the land or fully own the property, if you want to build anything onto it or make any types of changes to it, you need to get the council's approval and get their permission before you are allowed to build anything or make any changes to a property, even though you fully own it. And the final thing that you should know about planning permission is that planning permission is fucking bullshit. Unfortunately, though,
it is.
Even though Albert Dryden was the full owner of the property, he didn't have planning permission to build his bungalow. And someone snitched on him to the council, and the council decided to intervene. In 1989, the council sent Albert Dryden a letter saying that he did not have planning permission to build his bungalow and he was to cease construction immediately. Dryden ignored the letter and kept building his bungalow. Dryden did actually try at this point to get planning permission for his bungalow, but all of his attempts fell through because he kept changing his story about what the building was for. First he said it was a holiday home for his mother, then he tried to say it was a cattle shed, then he tried to say it was a nuclear fallout shelter, and because he kept changing the building's purpose, that's why the planning permission kept getting rejected. The case was being handled by a man called Harry Collinson, who was doing everything in his power to resolve the situation. He would even visit Dryden at the property, where they would sit down, have tea together and talk about the case. Both men were very interested in the countryside, wildlife and growing vegetables, and the men would talk for hours and they bonded over their similar interests, and they ended up becoming quite friendly with each other. But Harry Collinson always made sure to remind Dryden that as he did not have planning permission, he ultimately would have to demolish the bungalow. In May of 1989, the council issued an enforcement notice ordering the demolition of the bungalow, and a few months later, Albert Dryden submitted an appeal against this enforcement notice. A public inquiry was launched to investigate the appeal, and in January of 1990, the inspectors ruled in favour of the council, and Albert Dryden was given 3 months to demolish the bungalow himself. It was during this period that the press took notice and they started reporting on the case, and they even managed to conduct some interviews with Albert Dryden himself.
Are you prepared to knock it down?
No. No. I might blow it down, dynamite it.
I'll blow it up.
Or blow it up. But the council won't have any hand in it. I'll do it myself.
Shortly after this, Albert Dryden's mother passed away, and Dryden blamed her death on the stress that was being put on the family by the council. The friendship between Dryden and Collinson completely collapsed at this point, and Dryden seemed to have felt betrayed by Collinson, even though Collinson was honest with him from the start. Dryden and a friend of his turned up to a planning department meeting that was being held by the council, and this meeting was attended by Harry Collinson, and during the meeting Dryden and his friend started hurling abuse and threats at the council members. Dryden and his friend were ultimately removed from the meeting after Dryden's friend hit Harry Collinson in the face with a live chicken.
What?
Because he brought a
He hit him in the face with a... I would have loved to have seen that. Wow, some people are just crazy, man. A live chicken, I'll put it back.
Dryden's friend hit Harry Collinson in the face with a live chicken. Because he brought a live chicken with him to the meeting, you know? As you do, that's completely normal behaviour. In September of 1990, the council carried out an inspection to make sure that Albert Dryden had demolished the bungalow.
But he didn't.
Albert Dryden had not demolished the bungalow. Albert Dryden had in fact continued construction of the bungalow. So a month later, the council warned Dryden that if he did not cease construction immediately and comply with the demolition order, he would face prosecution. Albert Dryden told them to fuck off and kept building his bungalow. The council had now reached the final stage. They knew that there was absolutely no way they were going to be able to convince Albert Dryden to comply with the demolition order. So they used the only option that they had left. The council were going to go in and carry out the demolition themselves by force. The council, however, were very, very aware of how hot-headed Albert Dryden could be, and they were also very aware that he was a firearms enthusiast. So 2 days before the planned forced demolition, they had a meeting with police who were going to be present at the demolition and provide support to the council. The police stated that they would be in attendance to provide support to the council. But the police also said that the demolition team, the councillors and the police themselves were to withdraw immediately if they were met with any resistance from Albert Dryden. The forced demolition operation commenced on the 20th of January 1991. In attendance was the demolition team, the police, many members of the press, and a few of the councillors, one of whom was Harry Collinson. Just an hour before the operation started, one of the police officers advised that the operation should be cancelled because he had a feeling that something bad was going to happen. But despite that, the team decided to proceed with the operation anyway. Always trust your gut. So everyone arrived at the scene. The police, the press, the demolition team, and the councillors, who had begun preparations to force their way onto Albert Dryden's property to destroy his bungalow. Upon seeing this, Albert Dryden came out to the front of the property to confront the group, and he told them that what they were doing was illegal because there was an active appeal in place and an inspector was due to come out to the property in 5 weeks to carry out an inspection. It was later revealed that this appeal had actually already been rejected and Albert Dryden was due to receive the rejection letter the next day. But then Harry Collinson, on the left in the grey jacket, approached Dryden and the two men had a rather heated back and forth over the legality of the demolition. Harry Collinson then told Dryden what was going to happen. Since Dryden wasn't going to let any of them in through the main gate of the property, they were instead going to demolish part of the fence so that the demolition team could get inside the property. And that is when Albert Dryden said this to Harry Collinson.
Any damage that's subsequently caused as a result of you preventing us doing that will be your liability.
Well, you might not be around to see the outcome of this disaster. Now, you've been warned.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, I'm not going to explain, but if you had any sense...
I'll put it back and I'll read it out, because they can hardly hear it, and subtitles are...
Demolish part of the fence so that the demolition team...
What? This is crazy, right? The man owns the property. He should be allowed to build whatever he wants on it. I'm in the UK, so I know... I've heard of planning permission before. I know you need planning permission, but you shouldn't. If you own... I understand if you're renting, you need permission from the person who owns the land and the council. Okay, fair enough. But if you own the land, that's messed up. It is. It always has been.
Could get inside the property. And that is when Albert Dryden said this to Harry Collinson.
Any damage that's subsequently caused...
Okay. Harry says any damage is subsequently caused as a result of you preventing us doing that will be your liability. Okay?
As a result of you preventing us doing that will be your liability.
Well...
Dryden says, well, you might not be around to see the outcome of this disaster. Ouch.
You might not be around to see the outcome of this disaster. Now, you've been warned.
You've been warned.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, I'm not going to...
Oh, see what I mean? It's hard to put it back.
Disaster. Now, you've been warned.
Harry says, what do you mean by that?
Explain what you mean by that.
Well, I'm not going to...
Dryden says, well, I'm not going to explain, but if you had any sense, you would go away now.
Explain, but if you had any sense, you would go away now.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing. The conversation ends and Albert Dryden goes back inside the property. At this point, one of Albert Dryden's friends confronts the demolition team and then confronts Harry Collinson. While Dryden's friend was arguing with Harry, off camera, Albert Dryden had emerged from the property and was walking towards the group. And in his hand was his Webley. He walked right up to Harry Collinson, and then it happened.
Can you get a shot of this gun?
Out of it!
Oh, God!
Collinson was hit in the chest and fell backwards into a ditch, and Albert Dryden just started firing randomly at people. So the police, the press, the demolition team and the councillors all started running for their lives to try and get to safety. In the hail of bullets, police officer Stephen Campbell was shot in the arse, and reporter Tony Belmont was hit in the arm.
I shouldn't have laughed at that. That's terrible. Get shot in the butt? That's... ow.
We were standing watching what was going on. The chief planner was trying to persuade the chap to move out the way and let the digger go in. And then a shot rang out, the chief planner fell to the ground, and I felt a shot in the arm, and I've clearly been shot here in the arm. I'm now hopefully going to get some medical treatment. Policeman was also shot in the buttock here.
After everyone had ran off, Albert Dryden reloaded his Webley and made his way over to the construction equipment and started shooting at the internal mechanisms.
All I can say is, stop messing with people on their land. You know what I mean? It's bound to happen sooner or later. That's what you call overreach. When the government overreaches, I understand if they're trying to make sure the structure is safe. That's one thing, but getting him to tear it down just because he doesn't have permission on his own land. No, I don't agree with what he did. He shot a man. He shot a few people apparently, but I understand it. I do. I mean, I agree with it, but I understand it. Put it back. Let me know if you agree or not in the comments section.
After everyone had ran off, Albert Dryden reloaded his Webley and made his way over to the construction equipment and started shooting at the internal mechanisms in an attempt to disable the machinery. Dryden then made his way over to where Harry Collinson was lying and finished him off with 2 shots. Another one to the chest and one to the face. As soon as this happened, an armed police unit, which was stationed nearby, was called in to deal with the situation, and Albert Dryden took cover in a caravan that he had on his property. Dryden, shouting from inside the caravan, told the police that all of the buildings were booby-trapped with explosives, the property was covered in landmines, and that he had a cache of hand grenades with him inside the caravan.
This evening, an army bomb disposal team from Catterick are at the scene. Police won't say exactly why they've been called in, but it's widely believed that the bungalow could be booby-trapped.
It was later revealed that all of that was During negotiations, Albert Dryden approached the perimeter fence so that he could see what was going on, and as he was approaching the fence, the police noticed that his holster was empty. He didn't have his Webley on him, so the police, seeing their opportunity, charged at Dryden and took him to the ground and put him in cuffs. Dryden was arrested and taken down to the police station. He was charged with the murder of Harry Collinson, 3 counts of attempted murder, and 1 count of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. Afterwards, the police searched his property. They discovered a wide assortment of rifles, shotguns and handguns, as well as the infamous Webley that he used to murder Harry Collinson. They even found firearms that Dryden had made himself, ranging from pistols to mortar launchers, and they even found large explosive shells and rockets that Dryden had been building. Dryden was brought to trial in March of 1992 at Newcastle upon Tyne Crown Court, and when he arrived at the courthouse, he was actually greeted by a large crowd of cheering supporters who seen him as a hero for standing up to the government. Dryden entered a plea of not guilty on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Basically, he pled insanity. However, after 13 days of evidence, it took the jury only 2 hours to find him guilty on all counts, and Albert Dryden was sentenced to life in prison. While in prison, Albert Dryden lodged several appeals against his sentence, citing some rather strange reasons as to why he should be released. In one of his appeals, he said that he should be released because he was the victim of a Masonic conspiracy.
What?
Isn't that just crazy? Isn't that just crazy how everyone always thinks that the Freemasons are up to some dodgy shit? You know, it's all completely untrue. You know, there is absolutely no such thing as Masonic conspiracies. You can trust me. I'm joking. I'm joking. This was a present from someone. I'm not in the Masonic Lodge.
I actually know people. I actually worked with 3 people, in fact, that I know of that were in Freemasons. I don't know much about the organization.
Actually don't like me very much, so don't worry, I'm not a Freemason. Or am I? All of his appeals were rejected, as well as all 9 of his parole hearings, so he remained in prison where he'd actually gathered a little bit of a cult status among the other prisoners. During his time in prison, he would still send letters to his friends and family, but he would also send letters to the brother of Harry Collinson, the man he killed. Harry Collinson's brother was absolutely fucking furious that the man who killed his brother kept sending him letters. What made him even angrier, though, is that Albert Dryden was signing all of his letters as Man of Steel. Albert Dryden remained in prison until 2017 when he suffered a severe stroke, and he was released from prison on compassionate grounds, and he was handed over to the care of a retirement home where he remained bedridden until he passed away in September of 2018. And just like Marvin Heemeyer, Albert Dryden is seen as quite a divisive character, with one half of people saying that he is a hero who stood up against the government to defend what was rightfully his, and the other half saying he's a murdering lunatic. But you know how the saying goes. Hippity hoppity.
Yeah, that's the end of the video. I have to admit, I'm sort of torn on that one. On one point, I don't think the government should be allowed to interfere with people if they own the land. At the other side, I do not agree with him murdering Harry Collinson. I don't think he was a hero. I mean, I understand that he was backed into a place where he could be driven to do something so horrible. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with me or not. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like the video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. If you've got this far, thank you for watching this far. Join me on Twitch sometime. Until the next video, I am out of here.